then you tear it.
Does anybody is strengthen your least favorite question type?
I love them.
Have you always loved them?
No.
Oh, there we go. Here we go. I figured Gaia was going to say she hated them. Cora, what has changed so that you like them now? What makes you like them now?
I think it's the imagination. You kind of do get to use a lot more imagination with these instead of it being so boring and top down. And you kind of get to think of, how can I build this up? And you kind of think outside and you look at the forest instead of the trees.
Absolutely.
And I look for my approval. There's powerful words, spicy words too.
All right, is everybody able to see my screen? Yes. All right, so we've gone over several different question types before. All of them so far have been in the top-down category, and almost all, I'm going to say almost all in case there's one out there, but when it comes to reading comp, almost all of those questions would fall into this top-down mentality or philosophy where we have to stay between the lines, where we have to find something from the actual reading comp passage to support our answer in those questions. Where I agree with Cora, where I think that bottom-up questions are the most fun. And so we are going to talk about strengthen questions tonight. Typically people are better at strengthen or weaken questions. So it'll be fun to see which one you tend to pick up on more. Do you already kind of feel that you're better at one than the other? Josh, you're shaking your head yes. Which one are you better at?
I'm better at strengthen.
Okay, so I think people that are more optimistic are better at strengthen, and people who are more pessimistic are better at weaken. So that might not be true, but we can see who's going to be the public defenders and who's going to be the prosecutors for sure. But so far we've gone over supported questions, must be true, conclusion, disagree, reasoning. And so all we have left are parallel flaw, so really we are really making it through a lot of question types, even though it might not feel like it because we spend so much time on these. But as hopefully it feels like we're spending a lot of time on question types, but when you see how much progress we're actually making, and it's like checking it too, if you still feel like you're kind of up to speed, that's good because it means that you're grasping the content. So because we're almost, after tonight, will we be over halfway? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so after tonight, well, I guess we'll be one short of halfway. Do you feel like the ones that we've done so far, you do have a good grasp of? At least the concept behind it. And so the thing that we want to pay attention to is we're really going over how to approach questions now. And the cool thing about this boot camp is you're going to be over with a month left before your test. And so if we can go through this and you are slowly adding questions types and you're truly understanding how to approach them, you're going to have an entire month after having this solid foundation to drill and study. And review these questions. So whenever on the study guide that we'll get to after, which I'll share later because you're still doing a lot of the homework, every day or every 2 days, you're going to rotate through a different question type. And so if you have a month, that's 4 weeks, that you do one question, you drill 10 questions a day, 5 a week, you can get through each of these question types again 2 times before your test after boot camp. And that's significant as well.
And you can do like what we do. We add in, we do at least one game. We do LR and then one game.
Look at you. I think you guys do extra homework that I don't even know about.
We just play around and we're like, let's do the games in 45 and 46.
Which I love that because then you're seeing your scores, which have your scores gone up from 44 since you've done all 3 passages? Have you figured out?
I haven't put them in yet. No.
I'm curious. I want to see that when you do it. Let me know. All right, so strengthen. So I agree that these are the most fun. So on the LSAT, we've gone over that we have statements and we have arguments. An argument has a conclusion. Most of them most of the stimuluses are arguments. Hopefully we all know that up to this point, and there's conclusions. But is every conclusion on the LSAT valid?
Nope.
No, most of them aren't. Most of them are complete crap. But sometimes we get picked, like sometimes we get a little bit confused, and that's totally okay. And that's what we're going to focus on now. I have a video that I'm going to have everybody watch, that people that didn't go to the flaws class, I recorded it. And there's a part on it that I think is really good to introduce flaws. And we're going to bring in, next time we're going to talk about flaws, probably not Saturday because we're doing reading comp, but probably next Tuesday. And we will revisit strengthen questions again once we learn about flaws, but I wanted to talk about them first tonight with a more basic approach. And then once we learn about different flaws, how we can see the flaw and strengthen them by exposing the flaw too. However, so on the LSAT, we have all of our different premises, and then we have a conclusion. But most often this conclusion is not valid. And so what do we do? So, and why is a conclusion not valid? What does that mean?
There's a flaw.
There's a flaw. Yeah, it means that these things here are not adding up to the conclusion, right? It means that it's not 100% provable. It means that there's some way that we could poke a hole into it. And so what I like to think of for the argument, which some of you have seen this before, is this is my argument strength meter. And so arguments, even though they're invalid, can an argument have a different strength level? Or are all arguments the same level of believable, reasonable? No. And so what's the example I always give?
It's hot outside. Let's get ice cream.
Yeah, it's hot outside. Katie, did I introduce you to Josh, by the way, when you joined? I can't remember. You're going to be friends with Josh, just FYI, when he said that.
Great.
It's like Match.com.
Well, they're both theater majors. And I'm like, oh, you're going to be friends with my friend Katie. Okay, so we know our premise is it's hot outside, and our conclusion is we should get ice cream. Is that, Kamani, I know that you know this for sure. Is that a valid argument?
No.
No, why?
Because just because it's hot doesn't mean you need to get ice cream.
Yeah, excellent. But does this argument make sense? Does it make sense? Like, not on the LSAT world, but in real life, like if I came up to Trish and I was like, hey Trish, it's hot outside, let's go get some ice cream. Or he'd be like, that Nicole's an idiot.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. And so there's so many of these arguments on the LSAT that as we're reading, we're just kind of passively reading them and we agree with them because they make sense. But making sense isn't good enough. So on my spectrum here, where I would put it being hot out, like therefore we should get ice cream, maybe is right here. So what we're trying to do is get to the rock, because we want a rock solid argument. But right now it's here. And so what we do is we have our premises and we have our conclusion. And then we have our question and we have our answer choices. What we want to do is pick the answer choice that we can add, I should draw it the other way, that we can add as a premise that's going to get our argument from here all the way to the rock. Or not all the way, I should say, as close to the rock as we can get. Because we're trying to strengthen it, so we get to bring in something new. So if we're bringing in something new and we're trying to move it as far or close to the rock as we want, because we're bringing it up, do we want a strong or mild answer choice?
Spicy.
Spicy and strong, right? So remember this is one to write down. Strengthen, sufficient, stronger. We haven't gone over sufficient assumption questions yet, but they all start with S. So strengthen, sufficient, stronger. So we want stronger answer choices because with sufficient assumption questions, which we'll cover, the goal is actually to get all the way to the rock. So they're like super strengthen questions. So how Cora said that they're the opposite of weekend questions. What do you think we're going to do on the weekend questions? We're going to take our argument and get as far away from the rock as possible, right? All right, so let's see. Gaia, throw out, or I won't call it, someone think of a new argument because we've used the ice cream one so much. I think we need a new one. Someone come up with a fun one.
It's cold outside. Let's get hot chocolate.
No, that's not fun enough for me. What about Harry Potter tickets are on sale, therefore we should go.
We should go.
Yeah.
We should go. Yes, I told you, Katie. Okay, so Universal Studios has Harry Potter tickets on sale. We should go. This is our argument. I want everybody to think of a premise. I want you to all think of 3 premises, actually, that would strengthen this argument. And I want you to think of 1 premise that would weaken it.
What did you say we're to do?
We're thinking of 3 premises to strengthen our argument and 1 premise that would weaken it.
About the Harry Potter?
Yeah, the Harry Potter tickets are, they were like buy one, get one, or like 50% off. I knew, like I tried, but it wasn't smart, you know, with COVID. But now that I have a friend in Florida, I'm going.
Stop in Atlanta and pick me up.
We should.
Mhm.
All right, 20 more seconds. Phoebe, you're gonna share first, okay? And then Alma, and then Derek. And then we'll have Kamani and Jasmine weekend. All right, Phoebe, what would you do to add to this argument? How would you strengthen it?
I would say that I put we should go because it closes tomorrow.
Forever, and you're like, if we don't,
yeah, like it's
like
done.
it forever. I love that. Yep, it's closing. Excellent. Who else had? Who did I say? Alma, what did you have?
I was saying I had to step away for a second, so I caught the very end of what y'all were saying.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, I wanted to make sure you felt included. You're totally fine. Carolina?
Can I try?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I put 2 things for strengthen. I said, remember, Harry Potter is your favorite. Would that be something that strengthens the argument?
Yeah, I think so. It might, yeah, it definitely wouldn't hurt it. Yeah,
So,
if it says like you must experience your favorite thing, that would even strengthen it more. But absolutely, you're going the right direction.
how about I will buy your ticket?
Ooh, someone will buy your ticket. Yes, that would strengthen it. All right, so now what I want, or did I ask someone else to share that hasn't shared yet? Derek.
Yeah, I put Harry Potter has 2-for-1 tickets and they still have great seats available.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so now what I want you to do, everybody to do, is pick just one of their strengthen, and I want you to add something qualifiers to it to make it an even stronger answer. Actually, I take that back. We're going to look at the ones that were shared just so we can have the same discussion. So pick either Phoebe, Derek, or Nikki's response, and I want you to make it even stronger. So we can work on even thinking like, what words could we use to make that statement closer to the rock? So it'll take a minute to do that. All right, Katie, I hope you picked Derek so you can show Derek up. She's like, there's 4-for-1 tickets available.
No, I chose Nikki's.
All right.
I chose Derek's.
Okay, we'll go Katie, then Cora, and then Taylor.
Okay. For Nikki's, she had 2 really good ones. So I did the one about Harry Potter is your favorite. So I said there's no place in the world that will make you happier to go visit the Harry Potter at Universal Studios.
Okay, so what word in there did she throw in there that made it so strong? No place. There is no place. Do we hear how strong that is? Excellent job, Katie. All right, Cora, can you show up Derek?
So Derek, I added the word most. Most of the best seats are buy 2, get 1 free.
I love that. Do we hear that word? Most of it, like not only are there good seats available, but most of the tickets still have good seats available. Excellent. Now Taylor's nervous. She's like, oh no, I'm just kidding. Taylor, what did you say?
Okay, so I chose Derek's also, and I added in, so tickets are 2-for-1, best seats are still available, and the 2-for-1 sale will never be available after today.
Yes, did we hear that word? Never be available again. So these are the words that we need to be looking for when we're reading these stimuluses and adding our answers. Because do we hear what it's fun when we talk about topics we like. Like Harry Potter, let's go. But this is what being a lawyer is, right? It's convincing them. But here, like if you were going to convince your parents to do something, are you going to stop like, Mom? I love the one where it's like it's ending tomorrow. It's never coming back. Like that's what I would. Yeah, I'm sold. But those are the level of questions we're looking for, answer choices that we're looking for. And so now we have our Debbie Downers that don't want to go to Harry Potter, which I think I said, Kamani, right? You're a Debbie Downer today, right? Because you have what's one of your ways that you would weaken this argument?
I said tickets to this hold on. Where's my weekend? Oh, the tickets that go on sales are always scams, and we won't get our money back and cry.
Excellent. I would fall for the scam. You're right.
I have an interesting weekend.
Yes, tell us, Jemmy.
I'm Voldemort, so I won't go for it.
You're what?
Voldemort.
Oh, Voldemort! Yes, yes. All right. That was Trish. Were you supposed to?
It was me.
Okay, perfect. Go for it.
I said the show is sold out.
Oh, the show is, yes. We were too slow. Trish, do you have one that you want to share? No, okay. No worries. So, unclear. All right. I'm trying to even get more organized, which I'll put the notes on the website again. So these are just, and I'll put these on the website so you don't have to write these down frantically. These are just question stems of the LSAT. So we oftentimes are looking for if in these like most strengthened, it's important that the one that we really want to pay attention to is, are we trying to strengthen the argument? Because that means it's a bottom up question versus sometimes we get these confused with most supported questions, which is what we're trying to take something from, which we've already covered in the first class, where we're trying to take something from the stimulus and like what's most supported from the passage above and finding it in an answer choice. This is something that we just really, especially in your wrong answer journal, know if you're missing it because of this, because some people do misread these. Just FYI. All right. So how you approach these questions is same thing as we always do. Read the stimulus first, find the conclusion. Always our goal. And then we want to figure out what's wrong with the argument. And so for some of us, we're ready for this phase specifically where we already know flaws, we know why it's not there. For those of us that aren't quite there yet, the first step to knowing this is just asking yourself, why don't the premises prove the conclusion? So think back to our ice cream example. Why does getting why if it being hot outside is not enough to get ice cream? We want to start thinking of other explanations or other reasons why not. And if we start working on this is where we're going to get slower to get faster. And we start thinking in that, like Cora said, that creative mind, it's going to help us expose the flaws and actually help us with flawed questions once we get to them. And then lastly, we want to loosely predict our answers. Just how we all came up with our own strengths and our own weakens. We want to come up with a prediction because often, even if we don't have the right prediction, it's probably expressing the same whole in the argument as the answer choice. So what I do is, so let's say that I never say this. I always say all answer choices are wrong and make it prove to you it's right, except for strengthen questions. Because I assume that they're all, or I say, okay, if this were true, does it help me prove my argument? And it's not just, does it sound nice? Not of it just talking about the right things. I want to keep it through the eyes of the conclusion. All of these questions are through the eyes of the conclusion. You have to ask yourself, this doesn't just make me feel good. This just isn't talking about the right things. If I added it, it would help me guarantee what that specific conclusion is. So we have to act like we have to keep their focus on that. And then obviously stronger answers are often better. All right, so ways that we can strengthen questions are just by denying an alternative possibility. So it's hot outside, therefore we should get ice cream. Well, we can say, well, there's a slushy stand outside. Actually, no, that would be terrible. That would be weakening it. Denying an alternative, like nothing, there's no other desserts available. So that helps us get to that we should get ice cream because there's nothing else available. Promoting the evidence relevance. So that's why sometimes we have a premise and we have a conclusion and we don't really know why they're related. Can anybody think of an example of a time where a premise might not, without some additional clarification, might not guarantee a conclusion? So can anybody think of one? Think of an example of where this might where you might have to explain why that evidence matters.
I remember one, and I'm trying to, because it was something like Bob is short, and so then your conclusion is, I forget what the conclusion is, but basically the evidence is you had to figure out, is Bob a dog, or is that something on that line of,
Bob is shorter than Cora, so he would need short pants, or like, well, what would support that? Well, Cora needs what is it, petite pants. Like that's the relevance there. That would work. And then just supporting the evidence validity. This doesn't happen very often. This is just saying like why the reason, like why the sample size, or things that might, if the issue was being biased, if there was like a bias flaw in the argument, we could strengthen it by explaining why that really wasn't a bias. And then my favorite is just providing additional information. So if it's hot outside, therefore we should get ice cream. There's an ice cream truck outside. That's just an additional fact that helps us get there. All right, so we are at 9:05, so people are welcome to leave. I do have some questions available, and I'll probably go to about 9:30, and I can send these out and we'll continue to record it. But if people want to leave, they're more than welcome. I'm gonna go forward to the homework just for everybody that is going to leave, and then we're gonna come back to the questions. So homework. Okay, so I have this all linked on the website, so it's really easy to get to, where I have a strengthen video where if you would like some extra review on the strengthen than that review I just did, I went into a lot more detail than that I just talked about. even on the spectrum of it, to do PT 46 LR2. So this week, what I would like everyone to do, and send me a message if you don't have, does anybody here not have a study group? If you don't have a study group, please send me an email, and I'm going to just share that with some other people and just like to invite people in, just because I think there's like a huge benefit of that. And if it's not even a study group, a study partner, what I would like people to do this week is one time study with just one person. So not a group. I want you to, because sometimes I think groups can be a little, sometimes our groups can be a little, I don't want you to get complacent. Like I want you to always be hearing new ideas. So challenge yourself to reach out to someone and ask them to study with you. And it just for one, I just want you to do one of these sections together. If you absolutely don't want to do it, that's totally fine. I just think there's a lot of value to it. And especially if you're a higher ending scorer, it's helping someone that might need help on one of these sections and vice versa. You can do a section together, but I want you just to do it in partners. I'm obviously not going to check it if you did it. If you have problems finding someone, they'll reach out to me and I'll help set you up with someone, or I'll do it with you if I can't find someone. And then also for these, I want these sections that we're doing, I want us to focus on the science passages this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I have a flaw video from the flaw video class. I went through like describing flaws and how they relate to every question for like the first 15 minutes, and then like the next 20 minutes is going over common flaws on the LSAT. If you have time, I would like you to watch that, so that whenever we come into class next week, for next Tuesday, we already kind of feel like we're ready to go to talk about it and dive into some of those tougher flaw questions, because I really want to spend a majority of our time trying to translate the answer choices. I hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving if you're leaving.
Quick question about the homework. So for the ones that are due Saturday and the one on Monday about timed plus 15 minutes.
Oh yes, thank you. That's what I meant. I need to say. So yes. So for those of you that this does not relate to Katie, or those of you that are doing, or if you already have extra time, don't do it now, or you can have like 5 minutes if you need it. But for those that are doing 35-minute sections and not finishing, I want you to add 15 minutes. So I want you to do your time sections in 50 minutes. And submit it as is, like submit it with a score in 50 minutes. And so wherever you're at 50 minutes, I want you to mark it and then finish the section. We're gonna start.
You want us to indicate how much we got through before going over into?
No, I don't care at all right now. Like I just want the 50, but Katie, this doesn't, like those of you that reach out to me if you don't know if you're one of those students, but some of you don't need extra time, or if you do, you only need, like Gaia only needs, I told her like, give yourself 5 extra minutes on reading comp right now. I don't think you need the whole extra 15 minutes at this point. But this is for us to practice feeling the pressure, but still giving us the space to learn. So we all just, cut it all off. Like we can still feel the pressure, but we can still work on, maybe moving a little bit quicker than we normally would, but not too fast that we're just wasting our time. Does this make sense? Thank you for asking that, Katie.
Yeah.
I knew I needed that.
Brad talks about that too.
Oh yeah, he's really big on even doing lots and lots of untimed sections.
Yeah, but he'll even say if you can't do 35 minutes, start out at 50, and then a couple of days later, then put it down to like 45 minutes and slowly get yourself down.
Yes, and that's what we're going to do. And since we are taking the test in January, I don't want us to be doing unlimited untimed sections. But that's why I have this time here, so we can practice against the time and slowly bring it down. All right, so whoever would like to leave, you are welcome to leave. And those that want to stay, let's go ahead and take like a 5-minute break, and then we'll go for like another 20 minutes on strength and questions. So I'm just going to keep this on pause, and I'll see whoever wants to stay on in like 5 minutes, 9:15 Eastern time.
Yeah. For strength.
All right, Kitty, can you walk us through how you should approach a strength and question, please?
Of course. Okay. So we should read the stimulus. Then once we read the stimulus, we should pay close attention to the conclusion. You identify that conclusion. And then once we read the question, we find out it is a strengthened question, we should be predicting how we can best support this conclusion, or if there's any flaws that we noticed, how we can seal up those flaws to make our conclusion airtight.
Excellent. All right, so everybody go ahead and read question number 2 and just find the conclusion. Don't find the answer yet, just find the conclusion. And once you find the conclusion, oh, I know, it's like Jemmy, I saw Jemmy smile. Are you laughing at me covering up the answers? So once you find the conclusion, I want you to come up with a way that you would strengthen this argument and a way that you would weaken it. All right, Jemmy, let's see if we have the same conclusion. What conclusion did you find?
Again, this is the last sentence, which I'm always worried about. It says it's likely that more deaths are being reported as alcohol related because physicians are more likely to identify these deaths are alcohol related. So
does everybody agree with him? Was anybody debating between anything else? We're 100% excellent. Okay, so some people select, what these health officials are overlooking, however, is that attitudes towards alcoholism have radically changed. How do we determine which one is our main conclusion? Well, first, what is the other one called? One of these is the main conclusion. If we have a conclusion that's used to support the other conclusion, what is that called? Do you remember, Gaia?
Subsidiary.
Yeah, so what is a subsidiary conclusion?
I would say it's like a conclusion, but it's supporting the main conclusion.
Yeah, so so we might use a premise. And we come up with a conclusion, but then in turn, we use these both to support the main conclusion. So here, how do we know that these are, because we read this and I'm like, okay, so we have at least one health official that's concerned about the current sustained increase in reported deaths from alcohol-related conditions, and these health officials are attributing this increase to a rise in alcoholism. So what part of the argument is this sentence? What category would we throw that into?
Is it like the other people's opinion?
Yeah, the other opinion of others. Excellent. Way to go, Nikki. I sent my Back to Basics class to Troy today to watch, to give me feedback. And he said that, he told me that I was using incorrect terminology at the beginning where I talk about I'm like, no, these make sense. So it's not like official. Excellent. So this is what we have at our opinion of others. The most common structure or argument structure on the LSAT is to give us an opinion of others or to give us some type of background information and reject it. And that's kind of what we do here, right? We give something and then we reject it. And then we offer some support for that rejection, right? We say alcoholism is now widely viewed as a disease, where in the past it was considered a moral failing. It is therefore likely that more deaths are being reported as alcohol related because physicians are more likely to identify these deaths as alcohol related. How do we know that the blue one is our main conclusion? Cora?
That mean, all right, so you know it's your conclusions because everything is supporting it.
Yes.
It's not supporting anything. So you're still not left with questions.
Excellent. Yes. Like the fact that these health officials are overlooking, or I'm sorry, the fact that attitudes towards alcoholism have radically changed, we're using the fact that these attitudes has changed to support this idea that this is actually why there's more deaths being reported as alcohol related. It's not that more people are actually alcoholics, it's that the doctors are just noticing it. What predictions did we have for ways to strengthen this? Who has a good strengthener? Cora.
All right, so all autopsies from alcohol-related deaths show bigger livers.
Did that strengthen it? Because let's focus, what is truly our conclusion here?
It's so going off of the physicians being able to point out how they know that these are alcohol-related deaths.
But what the physician, yes, but is it, what are we trying to say? What are we trying to say? We're trying to say that they are, it's not that there's our conclusion is that there's not a rise in alcoholism. We're just trying to say that people just now know. Oh, I get what you're saying. You're just saying that all autopsies, but I guess for your thing to strengthen it, maybe before they weren't doing autopsies. It's just now they are. That would work. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so then they're opening up, the autopsy is able to give them more definite. Yeah, so it's not like.
It's not that there's a rise. It's just now we're seeing it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. All right, Carolina, what did you predict?
Well, first I wanted to ask, because I wanted to make sure I understand correctly what the argument is trying to convince us. Is it trying to say that although basically all the patients have been coming in and all the deaths, although they're alcohol related, they're not necessarily alcoholics? It's just saying that they just have. It's just.
Think about that. So what if in the past we had, if someone died in a car crash and they were drinking, we would label it as a car crash. Where now maybe they would say they died from alcoholism because we now recognize that as a disease. Or maybe in the past we would say that someone died from liver malfunction. Where now we would say that you died from being an alcoholic. And so since there's this increase, we're not saying that the true number of alcoholics has gone up. It's just now we're labeling those deaths as alcoholics. So think about COVID, when people were kind of freaking out for a while about like, was there really that number or not that number, like that getting tested? Think about that. Like there was, right? There were certain people that you were labeling deaths as more than one thing. So maybe like just now we know it's COVID and people are saying that. Now we're labeling alcoholism as an attribute. And so my thing would be that the number of people attending Alcoholics Anonymous has gone down, or the number in this, like this is not the greatest, I'm trying to think of like excluding alternative explanations. The number of the alcohol sales in the city have completely, there's no, like alcohol is banned from this county. I don't know. Like,
So maybe a strength.
Yeah, you have dry counties, so
you do, yeah. And I are in Idaho.
Yeah, especially in the South.
Oh, you have dry county. Okay.
Can I try?
Yeah, of course, Nikki.
So I came up with a strengthen and a weaken answer, but I'm not quite sure how good they are. So I just wanted to take a stab at it. But for
I
the
love that attitude.
thank you. For the strengthen, I said most people who are alcoholics go to a physician because they recognize it's a disease.
Most alcoholics go to a physician. But we're talking about people that have died. So let's help Nikki. I think you're on the right track, but how could we change that answer to make it a little bit, to make it stronger? I think what I would say, maybe it's not that the physicians know that, or the people know they're alcoholics. What if we said, doctors are just diagnosing more people as alcoholics in real life? So it's not even the people that died, but if you were going to your family doctor, you're more likely there to be diagnosed as an alcoholic too. So it's across the board that we're noticing it.
Or you could say like the doctors are using the patient's prior history to identify the cause of death.
Yeah, or before they weren't looking at it to see that they were an alcoholic.
Yeah, kind of something like that.
I said, I predicted in the past, the deceased's family were looked down upon if there was an alcoholism related death.
So they burned the letters. I read this thing today that I forget what president it was, their family burnt the letters because they didn't want them to know something about him. So
yeah. Because this reminded me a lot of like, sorry to get off topic, but I feel like there was like a whole trend where people were like, oh, they died from consumption, when it was really like different like STDs, but they didn't know yet and they didn't want to say it, so they just used like euphemisms. So I was trying to think of like, something along that context.
Oh, that's a great way to strengthen it, that they're like people didn't want to know. All right, everybody. Okay, so let's go ahead now and pick your answer and put it in the chat.